How's everyone doing today? Today I'm going to talk about how to lower your car or change suspension on your Sw20 body, MR2, 91 to 95 US model. The tools you need, what I use is an impact gun, 5mm Allen key, 19mm socket, impact, a 10 wrench for your ABS bracket, 14mm for your end link, 19 for your for the big strut bolts. And do this on your own risk, okay? I'm not responsible for whatever you do to your car. First off, you remove the wheel. Right underneath the car. Next, you need to do is undo this two big bolt for the strut. I zip my brake line on because the last guy, he cut off his bracket. If you don't want to cut off your bracket, you have to remove your brake line and then just slide through, and then you have to re-bleed your brake again. So the previous owner, what he did was he just chopped off the bracket so it can slide out very easy. So undo those two 19mm bolt, and then this strut doesn't have an ABS bracket for the ABS sensor, so the guy just zip tie it on there. And then the back of it, the end link is where the nut is, the 14mm nut, and then the Allen key to hold it in place. And then after that, you just twist it out and then undo these two 14mm nut. And for the end link, that's what I was talking about earlier, is you have to put this Allen key inside the end link to hold it in place. And then to break it, the nut loose, you just got to undo it, and then while you hold the Allen key in place, so it doesn't, so you don't strip it or anything. All right, to make things a lot easier, just put your key in the ignition and put it, just click it so that you unlock the steering wheel, and just turn the rack this way so they're easier to use. So I'm gonna cut the zip tie that the last guy did. Cutting the zip tie on the brake line. Remove the brake line from the bracket. Undo the 19mm bolt. Take one out first, a lot easier. Do the bottom one. If it's your first time taking it off, Toyota put this nut this way, and the bolt this way, and the nut this way. And then when you take out the bottom one, it's gonna hit the caliper. So you might want to have to remove the caliper to get this nut out. So when I put it back, I just reverse the nut the other way so I can swap it easier next time. Next step is the Allen key and the 14mm wrench. Just put the wrench in first. Put the Allen key to lock it, to hold it in place. And the end link should twist by hand, very easy to come out. So now it's loose. And the nuts right here. And now remove the top 4mm, 15mm, the 4 nut on top. Also, one thing I want to add, you see this little dot right here? So this goes towards the car, the driver. So remember that dot. And now remove the last 14mm nut. And you just hold it with one hand. And easy, just twist it out. And that's it. Less than 5 minutes, you get the front suspension out already. And then do the same thing with the other side. All right, now for the back, remove the wheel. So what you want to do is 19mm socket, get those loose. Here's that wrench with the Allen key for the end link. And again, the last owner, he zip tied this together. It's supposed to be a little clip right here, and this is one solid piece. So what he did is he cut the bracket out so that way the the brake line can easily slide out, rather than removing your whole brake line down here and slide through and rebuild your clutch again. And then remove the inspection panel. And then there should be 3 14mm nut holding the suspension upright. Cut the zip ties out. Move the brake line out behind it. 19mm socket. And again, Toyota, what they did is they put this on this side when you first get it out. So you might have to remove the caliper if your car had never been touched before. It looks like this car has been swapped already. Remove the other 19mm nut and bolt for the strut to the hub. Let's see if this come out with the impact gun for the end link. Oh, yes, it did. That's it. And you just push it back. Alright, here's the inspection panel off. These are the 3 14mm nut I was talking to you earlier. So right now I'm just going to remove these 3 nut, and the whole suspension will drop down. And then you just got to angle it out. And then be careful with the CV boot so that the bottom doesn't rip it. So you want to put like a cloth underneath it. Kind of push it down a little bit. Angle it out, and then pull it from the bottom out. And that's it. Less than 4 minutes, you got the rear out for one side. Alright, this part is when you want to remove your spring and then put on a different spring that you want to put on there. This is the iBox Sport line, and these are the tin that I'm replacing out. What you want to do is get one of these spring compressor. You can get them at, like, you know, Amazon, or go to AutoZone and rent one. What this does is it just just get these two, just clamp it together, just make it tight on both sides, so that way when you release the bolt up here, 19 mil, it doesn't like spring out at you, so that way it keeps the spring nice and compressed. So once you have all this compressed down, since I'm going to replace the shocks anyways, the inserts, which is this piece right here, I'm going to use impact gun, but normally you want to use it by wrench if you want to like save the inserts or something, because right now this metal rod inside here is tightened down by this cap, because there's a groove on the cap. It keeps it locked in place. Like this one right here. See, there's a little groove right here where this actually sits. There's a groove on the insert itself. So once you lock it in place, it'll just turn and it'll stay. So the bottom doesn't spin anywhere. So this is when you know it's locked tight. And you just put the cap on, and with the washer inside, and then you just do it hand tight. Once it's on the car, once everything mounts on the car, you can tighten it when everything's attached to the frame. So, yep. And then this is when you don't want to shoot the impact, the gun in. Never use impact when you're tying it, because you might ruin the seal in your new insert. So basically, if your spring, if everything nice and tight inside, this part of the cap, you can actually turn it with the insert in. Turning it's okay. So that way, this nut is it's same as this hub. Your knuckle part goes in here. So that way, basically, this lines straight down to here. And then same thing with the front. The front strut housing, which has its cap up here, and it says out. It says out this way. You want to turn the whole assembly face out, so that way it lines up at the mounting point for the knuckle, nice and straight. So just say that everything's, and again, this one has a groove for it as well. The groove for the insert. There's a groove here, and it's a groove here. Once it matches up, it's not going to turn anywhere. Okay? Just for instance, say your spring is in place and you got brand new inserts on there. You're going to clamp this down, compress it down, and you want to find where the mounting point is. Out, and just kind of put the cap out on top of it. And this shot is dead anyways. So when you have a brand new insert, it's gonna pop right out. And with the spring compressor compressed in, it'll line up like that. And you can just turn it. So out, line up with this. All right. And to replace the inserts, when it's like this, say your assembly is out, right? And there's no way for you to take this cap off. normally I have this 3/8 extension, really long one, stick on the bottom. Just kind of hold it in place and get a really big plier or channel lock, and then you just break it loose. You just break it loose, and the whole insert, the whole cartridge insert will come right off, and you place a new one and you put the cap back on. So that's how you replace the inserts on these guys, and vice, and the same thing for the rears. And just make sure everything lined up. So this is the narrowest. This is the only one that's the furthest. So this will line straight up with the mounting point. Okay. And then same thing with the front. So this says out. I don't know if you can see that or not. This says out. It'll line straight in. Because if not, it's not gonna sit right when it's on the car. Alright, I went ahead and assembled these already. These are the iBox Pro, some Tokikos. And remember this arrow right here, this little dot, you want to face that where the driver is. So just kind of aim it where you want. We're all lined up. So it's going to go in this way. And then this is the ABS bracket I was telling you about, where the other one didn't have it. So you want to put the ABS bracket in here. And then just use it, you know. It's a, I think it's a 6 mil bolt that goes in there. And then the end link is kind of guided in with the end link of squirrel. And just get a couple screws on top, couple thread. For suspension in place. And right now you can actually turn the suspension and put the end link in. This bracket I was telling you about, I'm gonna get some anti-seize, put on this 6 mil bolt with an ABS bracket. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the wheel. Line it up. Brake line back in. This one already had already had the bracket cut for the brake line. And just kind of push it in. And the strut bolt. The nut for it with the washer. Bottom. So right now the end links it's already in place. So what you want to do is do the end link glass when both suspension is on the car, so that way the sway bar can go up and down easier for you to like adjust it. Because if you put this one on and the other side ain't gonna move. So just kind of put the end link in. All right, link's in. Everything looks good. The brake line bracket is kind of tight. Just kind of bend it down a little bit. Just get the brake line in. And then use a C-clamp. Use a C-clip if you can. If not, then I just use a zip tie. It worked for what we got since the guy didn't cut big enough. Just bend the bracket back. Get my impact gun for the strut bolt. 10 mil socket. 10mm wrench, the ABS line. Tight. And always use hand tight to tight everything back in. Turn the top. All right. And here's that brake bracket I was telling you about. So you just gotta bend down, bend up, bend down, squeeze it in, put it down. So this looks pretty straight, so I want to put a C-clip over it to hold it in place. And here's that ABS bracket that I was telling you about. And then just tighten everything out. And then I didn't tighten up the end link yet because I'm gonna put the other side on first. And then the top, just tighten everything up. So I'm gonna do the same with the other side. All right, then the end link. So the end link goes last once the other side's in, so that way you have room to like move up and down. And now for the hub. If you can, if it's too hard for you, use a jack and then with a wood to push the whole knuckle up, so that way you can put the big bolt in. But normally you can just push it up by hand. Washer, nut, bottom nut, brake line stuck bit. Just get a plier, bend it down. Just bend it up. Just angle it. And just bend the bracket back. This is already cut already. And then use a C-clip. Use a metal C-clip and just clip it in. And then just tighten everything up. And then we'll go again, hand tight everything, and then the three nut on top as well. Sorry, it took a little bit harder than I thought to get the top nut in because it wasn't lining up right. So basically I was having trouble getting these two right here at an angle, so it has to be nice and straight, and it goes straight up, and then just put the 3 nut on top to hold it in place. Alright, now it's time to install the rears. Make sure the end link is back there. Just guide it in. tighten it up. Make sure the inlet goes in first. And now just tighten up the 3 top bolt. Alright, that's pretty much it. I tighten everything up, 14mm nut. Tighten the 2 big nut right there, hand tighten everything, the end link. I didn't have any C-clips, so I had to use zip tie for now. But everything's all checked. I double check the front and the rear, make sure everything's nice and tightened by hand. And then as far as the stud go on the lug nuts, I put some anti-seize in there, so that way it'll be easier to come off next time. And you do want to put it at 80 foot-pound of torque on the Toyotas, and you don't want to over tighten them. It might stress on the stud itself. The next thing you want to do is you want to torque it down. You got to set it to 80 foot-pound. So right here, 80. And then slow the car. You want to lower it so that way it barely touches the ground. You don't want to go all the way down because you put a lot of stress on the lugs. So right there is perfect. So it's not all the way down to the ground yet. And then what you want to do is you want to go in a star pattern. And then the very next step is do 1 round circle just to be safe. And like you do it to the point where you just click and do not pass the click. That's it. And just take your time on the lugs. Click. Perfect. And just let the torque wrench do its job. And you never want to snap torque it, so that when you snap torque it, it's a lot more force than it should be. So just go 80 foot-pound, that's it. So I did my circle already. So now my circle, just to double check my work. And that's it. And then do it for the rest of the car. All right, you're all set. And pretty much it looks pretty good. The tin was kind of too low for me, so I went ahead and get the iBox Pro, and it doesn't sit as low. And these are running 215/40 17 in the front, advance, and 255/40 17 in the rear. The fronts are 17/8 plus 31 offset, and the rear is 17/9 plus 31 offset. And it fits pretty good, looks pretty good. Kind of flush with the fender a little bit. Alright, that's it. That's how you lower or change the suspension on an MR2.